Awesome. Okay, so as I mentioned, I am a UX design instructor, but I'm sure many of y'all are new to this space and y'all haven't even heard maybe of the word what UX design is. So I'll get started by just giving you a quick brief into what UX design stands for, and then we'll go ahead and use a tool which is used for UX design, okay? So in the early days, okay, think of the 90s and the early 2000s, when products were being made, okay, usually like the developer would just focus on developing the product, and there wasn't really a lot of thought put behind the design of a website or even of a software, okay? That is just because like there was not enough availability with respect to like people able to actually go ahead and focus on the design, and instead they were really just focusing upon can they make a good software which can work, okay? And what happened because of this is that many startups would start and they'd go ahead and build products as well as features which people did not really enjoy using or did not even want. And this obviously led to a lot of loss in money as well as a lot of loss in time. And that creates this kind of like disappointing experience for someone who's invested so much time into making a product. Okay, like if you come up with your own startup idea, you don't like become frustrated at the end of it. Or even if you come up with a feature idea, you don't be frustrated if someone doesn't use it. So this field of experience design began to come up where video games, okay, would go ahead and actually focus on the interface. So if you ever played on a Nintendo, or if you ever played on the like the Nintendo Game Boys or the Nintendo Game Cubes, there was a lot of science which they were applying to actually make a good experience, because they were thinking about using psychology tricks as well as creating a good experience for someone when they're playing the game, so that the games would become popular and they would sell. And the software industry thought like, why not take that same concept which they do of like focusing on the design first and creating a good experience and applying it to our industry. So what they did was they said, we can actually focus on creating some prototypes first where we don't actually code out anything. We instead draw out what we imagine a solution to be like. We go and test it out with some users. We get some feedback. And once we've got some feedback, we iterate over it, we make some improvements, again, test it with some users. We do this maybe 2 or 3 times. And after that, only do we actually go ahead and decide as to whether we want to code it or not code it. And that's the moment where we decide whether this idea is even worth making and moving forward with. So this potentially saved organizations a lot of time, because now they didn't have to focus too much on the code and getting everything to work. Instead, they could just draw out the experience. And they weren't drawing it out necessarily only on paper, but they were able to even take this onto a digital medium. And originally when this like movement started, it started off with using graphic design tools such as Photoshop and Illustrator, which many of you may know of as tools for usually photo editing, like making someone's face look different or make someone look funny. Or that's what Photoshop's aim was, is to like focus a lot on graphic design, but it was being repurposed to design apps and websites. And overall, that was becoming frustrating for people. And this industry slowly evolved to become what it is today, where we have a tool known as Adobe XD, where you can actually go ahead and design websites as well as mobile applications and really focus upon that without the unnecessary jargon and unnecessary features which you would get maybe in a tool such as Photoshop. And this tool is for free, and there are competitors out there such as Figma as well as Sketch. They're also just as good as XD. We are focusing on XD today for 2 key reasons. Is that it's for free, and it also has a great feature known as AutoAnimate, which I'll show you how to use today. So for those who just joined in, I'm just going to share a link to the Adobe XD website. I'd like you to go ahead and download the software. It should take you approximately 1 minute to 2 minutes to download. And I'll just wait for you to download it. And after that, we'll actually go ahead and get started with using the software. And until then, while we wait for people to download the software, feel free to unmute yourself, ask me questions via the chat. I love answering questions. So this is really informal. Don't think of me as like a lecturer and like a professor. Think of me as your friend who you can quickly ask for questions and also annoy, okay? So I like people who annoy me in the classroom. So you can go ahead and ask me questions if you have any so far, okay? I'll just wait for another 2 minutes for whoever's just joined in to download the software, and we'll get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up Adobe XD on our computers. So if you have downloaded Adobe XD, you'll notice it's in your app menu. If you're on a Windows computer, it's in your start menu. I'm just going to go ahead and open it up from my app menu. So you'll notice I have a tile out here called Adobe XD. I'll just go ahead and click on it. And you'll notice the software is opened up for me. Okay. And as soon as I open up Adobe XD, what you'll notice out here is that I have this interface which kind of like shows me all the different types of prototypes I can make. So I can make a mobile app prototype, I can make an iPad prototype, I can make a web prototype. Oh, that's basically for websites and desktop apps. And I can also make a custom size prototype, okay? Now, usually whenever you open up Adobe XD, you're either gonna focus on maybe making a mobile app or making a desktop app. Today, we're gonna focus on how we can make a quick mobile application, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and therefore get started with using the iPhone X/XS 11 Pro size, okay? So I just want you to go ahead and click on this. Once you click on this button which says iPhone XXS, you'll notice you have a new file which is opened up, okay? And you can do this along with me, you just don't need to watch me, you can actually go ahead and do this with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and just save my file. That's extremely important for everyone, that whenever you start any project, save your file. So to save your file, take a look at the top left-hand corner and click on File. And after that, there's an option called Save. Click on Save. And I'm just going to save it onto my computer and call it a demo for today. Okay?
Are you trying to share your screen with us?
Yeah, I'm currently sharing my screen. Can you not see it?
We can only see your video, not like your screen that you're doing all the work on Adobe
Oh.
XD.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Can you all now see my screen?
No.
I can see it. Are you sure that you don't have his screen pinned or anything?
It says there's a kind of like telling me stop sharing as well. I can go ahead and like share my screen again.
Okay.
1 second. How about now? Can you now see my screen, ma'am?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Okay, I'm sorry about that. By the way, whenever you all see such issues, immediately call me out and tell me that something's up, okay? So I'll go ahead and repeat what I just did, just so that everyone can see it. So what I went ahead and did was I came to this dashboard view of like whenever you go into any website, like any software, usually gives you all these different options to quickly create files. I went ahead and selected the iPhone XS, okay? Once I selected that, it opens up a file with a default screen, which is basically one iPhone screen. So I'll just give it a minute to open up. And the next thing I'll do immediately is I'll save my file. This is extremely important. I always save my work and I tell everyone to do the same. You never know when the app will crash on you, when your laptop will run out of battery. So always save your work. So go to the top left-hand corner, click on File, click on Save. And I'm just going to go ahead and save this as Demo May 23. Okay. Now, you've come into Adobe XD, you'll notice you have a screen out here, and this interface may be a bit new to you all, okay? If you've never worked with a design tool, this is definitely a new interface, and if you ever use Google Docs or PowerPoint, this interface looks pretty different from that. So I'll go ahead and explain the interface to you. Therefore, it'll make it a bit easier when we move forward. So in the left-hand side, what we have is something known as a tools bar, okay? So you can go ahead and like select, this is a select cursor, okay? After that, you have a rectangle tool from which you can make rectangles, okay? You have a circle tool from which you can make circles. Don't worry, you don't need to make this with me, just see what I'm doing. You also have a polygon tool, okay? And you can make a triangle from it, and you can also increase the total number of sides for your polygon from this right panel, which I'll get to in a bit. So you can increase the number of sides. You can also go ahead and create a line via the line tool. And you can also like use the pen tool to go ahead and like make some custom shapes, such as like maybe you want to make really custom shape like this. You can use the pen tool to do that, okay? And you also can create text boxes and text lines. So I'll get to that in a minute. So I can just click in and I can write some text which says, let's say, hello, Zosh. Okay. And we also have an option right next to that, which is definitely new to you. You've never seen this icon below before. It's called an artboard option. So I'll go ahead and click on the artboard option. And what you'll notice is in my right panel, I can select the artboard which I want. And artboard is basically one screen for your application. Okay, that means one representation of your application. So it could be a home screen, it could be a chat screen, it could be it could be a home screen, it could be a chat screen, it could be a new message screen. It's really up to you. Usually I just tell people that be very careful with the screen size you're selecting. So since we're designing for an iPhone X, I'm just going to select iPhone X again. And this allows me to create 2 screens. So that's how the left panel works. You also have a zoom option, okay, which basically allows you to zoom in and out. Okay, I don't use it much because I use my trackpad to pinch in and out. Apart from that, if you take a look at the bottom options, you have an option called assets, which is something from which you can add in like items that you use consistently, such as buttons or colors or fonts. If you're using it throughout the website, you may want to like add it here. I'll get to that a bit later. And apart from that, you also have an option called artboards, which is basically your layers. So if you want to explore one artboard and the contents on it, you'll basically be clicking onto this and you'll see what's inside it. Right now, there's nothing, that's why it's empty. And the last option is plugins. So if you've ever used Google Chrome, you'll notice that Google Chrome has a lot of plugins to it. The same way Adobe XD has a lot of plugins which you could use. So you could just go ahead and add in as many plugins as you'd like, okay? And they have quite a few. Do check them out after today's workshop. I won't be discussing them. You can explore this on your own afterwards. Now, we've gone ahead and discussed the left panel. Now we're going to focus on the right panel. So what does the right panel allow you to do? So the right panel basically is going to allow you to modify things. So let's say I've selected this artboard. Notice how I can modify its height, its width, its exact position. I can also go ahead and describe its like background color. So I can change the background color. Okay. I can also add a grid onto it just so that's easier for me to know how I want to space my items. So the right panel is basically an opportunity, not an opportunity, it's basically a place for you to go ahead and modify things. So if I select an artboard, I could edit my artboard. If I was to create a rectangle, I could go ahead and edit my rectangle from here, okay? So now that I've said that, let's go ahead and actually get started with working together. So now you can actually follow along with me. So we're gonna focus today on making a very simple app, okay? We're focusing on making a pets app. So basically imagine that like people want to adopt pets. We'll make an app which allows people to go ahead and adopt pets. It's just gonna be a prototype which we could potentially share with people and get their feedback on it. So let's go ahead and get started with our home screen, okay? So you'll notice right now the screen names as iPhone X/XS. I'm just gonna go ahead and rename this and call this Get Started, okay? So to do that, just double click in and you can go ahead and type in your screen name and you can call it Get Started Screen, okay? Once you've done that, you want to go ahead and maybe add some text about your app. So you maybe want to put an app name, okay? So you could go ahead and add a text box. To add a text box, go to the left panel and select this T option, okay? So notice where my cursor is. It's right next to this T. Select this T option and just click. Once you click in, you can just type in your app name. Let's go ahead and call this Pet Mania, okay? You can give it a name like of your choice. You can call it Adopt a Pet or Petto. You can use whatever name you'd like. Now I've gone ahead and used the name Pet Mania. Now you'll notice that my text is a bit, like my text size is a bit small. You may not be happy with the font. So we can actually go ahead and change this. So I have this text box made, okay? I'm gonna keep it selected. Pay attention to my right panel. In my right panel, notice how I can change the font family. So maybe I don't want to use Helvetica. I may want to use another font. Let's say I want to use Avenir. Okay, so Avenir is a nice font, which I usually enjoy using. You could use a font which you like. So if you like to use Times New Roman, use Times New Roman. If you want to use another font known as Montserrat, that's also another popular font. You could use that. I'm not sure. Okay, I do have it on my computer. So you could also use Montserrat. That's a very popular font as well. So you can go ahead and change the font. I'll also go ahead and change the font size and I'll keep it as 48. Okay, just to ensure the font like is nice and big and people can actually see the name. And I may also want to go ahead and change the color. Okay, so currently the color is like it's a gray color and you want to change it to a black. So I can go ahead and change it, make it black. Okay. And we've gone ahead and made a text box, okay, where we've gone ahead and written the name Pet Mania. Now take 10 seconds to do this. After this, we'll focus on how to create a button, okay, and how to add pictures as well. Take 10 seconds to do this. And if you have any questions so far, do ask me in the chat or unmute yourself, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. Okay, I'm assuming you've gone ahead and written the word Pet Mania onto your screen. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put a short description about what Pet Mania is. Okay, so we'll just create another text box. Now just go ahead and say, come adopt a pet today, just so that people know what the app is about. Okay, and you remind them what the app is about, because many times people have downloaded an app and then don't download it immediately, and you need to remind them what the app is about. My font size is a bit too big. It's 48. I'm just going to go ahead and make it 28. Okay. And I'll just place it below my app name. Okay. And you can also go ahead and like change the font weights as well. So what is a font weight? A font weight is basically how thick a font is. So for example, if you want your Pet Mania to be bolded, keep your Pet Mania text selected. Go to the right panel. Inside of the text section, you'll notice there's this word which says regular. That's basically how the font is regularly rendered. But you also have some other weights, such as thin, which makes the font size very thin. There's light, okay, which is a bit better. And then you also have bold, okay, and you have extra bold as well. I'm just going to go ahead and use regular. I think regular works fine. But if you ever wanted to like go ahead and change the font weights, that's how you do it. Now I've gone ahead and written our app name, as well as I've gone ahead and said what the app is about. We need to go ahead and create a button so that people can actually go ahead and say, we want to sign in or get started with using the application. So we'll go ahead and create a get started button. Okay. To create a get started button, we need to create a rectangle first. So go to the left bar, click on this rectangle option, and now just draw a rectangle. Okay. So I've drawn this rectangle. Okay. Now you may not be happy with your rectangle size. That's completely fine. Keep this rectangle selected and pay attention to the right panel. You will notice you have a W and an H. From here, you can always modify the height of your button. So you can make it 60. You can make it even 75. It's really up to you. I think 70 works fine in this scenario. The question just come in, which is, how do we move around the text box? So Ning has asked me, how do we move around the text box? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. You mean how I can move my text box? Is that your question? Can you unmute yourself and explain the problem to me, Ning? Okay. Ning has been able to solve this problem, so that's fine. Okay, now we've kept a rectangle selected. Next thing we may want to do is we may want to give our button a color. Okay, so I'm just going to keep my rectangle selected. And notice under the appearance section, there's an option for fill. I can change the fill and I can make it maybe pink. Okay, and let's go ahead and select a pink from here. Or even better, we can actually go ahead and select a color from a great website which I use for colors usually. Since you're at a hackathon, I can teach you where to look for great colors. So a great website for finding colors is flatUIcolors.com. So I'm sharing this link with you in the chat. Grab a color from here of your choice, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and select the American palette. And I'm gonna use this, I think this color looks really nice, Pink Glamour. And it's gone ahead and given you a code, okay? It's copied it. You don't need to like worry too much. So I'm gone ahead and selected this code. I've come back to Adobe XD. I've selected my rectangle. I've gone to my fill option. And you'll notice inside of your fill option, right under this big colored rectangle, there's an option to put in the code, okay? So you just copied a code. You can go ahead and paste it, okay? Notice how I've got that same color. This code is known as a hex code, okay? So what are hex codes? Hex codes are basically codes we give for specific colors, okay? Because if I say orange, like I could have an extremely dark orange, I could have a light orange. So instead we use codes, okay? And how do these codes work? It's very simple. It's basically RGB, okay? So every pixel on your screen is basically made up of like 3 colors, red, green, and blue, okay? So a hex code has 6 digits, okay? So you have 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, okay? So the first 2 digits are for red, and it basically goes from 0 all the way up to F, okay? And the same goes for green and blue, and they basically mix together to make a color. So if I was to make this 0, 0, 0, this is basically going to be black, okay? And when I would make this F, 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 it means it's completely white, okay? So that's how RGB works, and that's how hex codes work. A quick crash course on colors. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and select my rectangle again. After that, I'm just gonna remove the border. I don't think the border is necessary. And one thing which you'll notice on a lot of apps is that they have rounded borders. Right now, you'll notice that you have extremely sharp edges. You may want to round it. So I'm just gonna zoom in, and notice how my cursor is towards one of the corners of this rectangle. I'll just pull on this small dot, and notice how I can make my rectangle rounded. I'll repeat myself. I took my cursor to one of the corners of the rectangle, and I then just dragged on it slowly, and now we have a rounded rectangle. Okay? Sounds good? Now, the next thing you may want to do is you want to go ahead and add some text to your button. So to add some text, just go ahead and click on the text box. So go to the left panel, click on text, and now go ahead and type in get started. Okay, you can reduce the font size. I'll make it 24. Okay, and you can just place it within the button. Okay, and if you want, you can even make your text white in color. Now I've gone ahead and done this. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to ensure that whenever I move my button, the get started text moves with it. So for this, we need to go ahead and group these elements together. So to group them, take your cursor and just drag your cursor over both these elements. You'll notice both of them are selected. Right click and select the option which says group. Okay, I'll repeat myself. I took my cursor, I selected both the elements I wanted to group together to make a button. I right clicked, I selected the option which is called group. After that, take a look at my left panel. You'll notice now I can see all the elements on my artboard as I mentioned earlier. Like this is where you get to see it. And you'll notice it's called group 1. I'll just rename it and call it button or get started button. Okay. Now you may also want to go ahead and add some pictures in. So a great website to find pictures whenever you're working on a personal project, it's called unsplash.com, where you can get some free pictures. So I'll just go ahead and share that link with you all in the chat. So go to this website called unsplash.com and download 4 pictures of animals of your choice. Okay, so I'm just going to go to unsplash.com and I'll download a few pictures of some pets. So you can just type in pets. Okay. Once I've done that, you can go ahead and download a few pictures. So I'm just going to download a few pictures of some animals. So I think this cat looks nice. So we'll download this cat picture. I'll just save it on my desktop for the time being, or actually better, I'll just make a quick folder for it. Okay. And I like this picture of these cute puppies. I think these look nice as well. And let's go ahead and take one more picture. Okay, so I've got a few pictures of some pets. I want you all to take a few pictures as well. Take approximately, I would say, another 30 seconds to do this. Any questions so far, by the way? Okay, So you'll just wait for people to download the pictures and we'll come back to using the tool after that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our pictures in. So to add a picture in, okay, it's going to be a bit different than what you normally do. You'd expect a button to add a picture in, but that's not exactly how it works in Adobe XD. So instead, what you will have to do is you'll have to go ahead and go to the top left-hand corner, click on File. Once you click on File, there's an option to import. So click on Import. And from here, you can go ahead and import pictures in. So I've gone ahead and added these pictures onto my desktop in a folder called Adobe XD Workshop. I'm just going to go ahead and select one of the pictures, or maybe two for the time being. So let's go ahead and select these two pictures. And you'll notice they're a bit big. You can just select the pictures and make them smaller. Okay, I'll just do the same for the dog picture as well. I'll make it a bit smaller. I'll just place it here. Okay, so we have a picture of some dogs. You can put some pictures of some cats as well. Okay, so go on ahead and just made a small introduction for app. Okay, doesn't look too great at the moment. I'm just teaching you how to like use these different like features. You can like focus on the layout in your own free time. Okay, so for the time being, let's imagine that we've like gone ahead and like kept these two tiles. Okay, someone comes to our application and they know that it's about pets because they see these two pictures of these animals, like of a dogs as well as of a cat. Okay, we've gone ahead and created our first screen. So is everyone happy with my pace? Would you like me to go faster or slower? Could you just type in the chat so I know if I can go faster? So if you want me to go slower, let me know. And if you want me to go faster as well, just type that in the chat so I know how well I'm doing. Okay, can someone type? Okay, someone would like me to go a bit faster. Okay, thanks, Dash. Okay, I was wondering if I'm going a bit too slow because a lot of you are new. Okay, I'll go a bit faster. Thanks for letting me know that. Okay, so we've gone ahead and created our first screen called the Get Started screen. The next screen we want to go ahead and create is a home page. Okay, so let's imagine someone clicks on this Get Started page. We also want to create a home page for it. So to create a home page, go to the left bar. Once you've gone to the left bar, pay attention to the second last option out here, which is called Artboard. Select Artboard, and Artboard is basically one screen. Pay attention to the right panel after that. What you'll notice is you have an option for iPhone X, XS, 11 Pro. We want to select that. And now we've created one more artboard. Once we've done that, we want to give our artboard a name. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it home screen. Okay. Now that I've done this, the next thing I may want to do is actually want to go ahead and maybe like show some pictures of some pets which need to be adopted. And we may want to actually go ahead and like give a section name as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started by making a text box. So click on the text option. I'm just going to go ahead and type in pets. Whoops, pets. I don't know why it's, oh, the fill is white. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in pets near you. Okay. And potentially, if this was an actual app, you'd have some screens in between asking you a few questions. We are just assuming that those screens don't exist for the time being. Now, notice how like we've written pets near you. You can go ahead and like just change the color of the word near you. So to make people know that they can actually click on it, you can like go ahead and like just change the color. And you can use the same exact color we use for the word, like for this button. So I'll just go ahead and select this near you text. And I'll just give that hex code. Okay. And to make it a bit more obvious that they can actually click on this near you button to maybe change it to pets in Seattle or like pets in a different city, we'll also add a line under it. So to add a line, go to the left panel, select the line option, and draw a line, okay? And notice how I've drawn a line and it's gray in color. You can change the line color by selecting this border fill option, and again using the same color which you just copied earlier. Take 20 seconds to do this. Is my pace now fine? Tash, am I good? Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'll just give you another 5 seconds to do this, and we move forward after this. Okay. So the next thing we may want to go ahead and do is we actually want to go ahead and maybe show people like a variety of the pets which are near them. So we have taken 4 pictures of some pets, but we may want to like give some more details. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by drawing a rectangle. Okay. So go to the left panel, draw a rectangle. Okay. And it's fine if your rectangle is a border. I would just remove the border and I'll give it a fill of black for the time being. Okay. This rectangle is basically going to hold the pictures of the pets, and I'll teach you how to do that in a minute. Just keep it like this for the time being. So have a rectangle which is black in color on the left hand side, and we'll add some details on the right hand side out here about the pet. So I've put a pet picture out here. It's black in color for the time being. After that, I'll go ahead and create a text box. Let's go ahead and write in a pet name such as maybe Rover, and give it a pet age of maybe like 10 days old, or like let's not put it like just keep it as Rover. I think that's good. And we'll make the text color black. Okay. I'll reduce the font size and maybe make it like 18. And under it, I'll add another text box, which I'll basically go ahead and write the age. So I can go ahead and like say 10 months old. And I'll make this text size maybe 14. I'll just put it under the word Rover. And I may want to like make this gray in color instead. Okay. And I may also want to say how far this dog is as well from us. And we could just go ahead and say 0.7 miles away. Okay. So I've just gone ahead and added in some details about our pet. Take 10 seconds to go ahead and write this out. You don't need to write everything, just write as much as you can. Okay. Now that you've done this, the next thing you want to focus upon is your rectangle. So you notice how your rectangle right now is just black in color. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make it like have an image inside of it. So I'm going to go to the folder where I downloaded all my images. Okay, so I have this folder called Adobe XD Workshop, and I have 4 pictures in it. I'm just going to drag one of my pictures. Okay, so I'll just drag one of these pictures. I'm going to drag this cat in, and I'll just drop it in. And notice when I'm dropping it in, I'm dropping it inside of this rectangle. Okay, so I can go ahead and do it again. I'll show you what I did. I just dragged the picture and I dropped it inside the rectangle. Okay. Does anyone have any difficulties so far? Okay. Now that I've gone ahead and done that, okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to do this like for multiple pets. So let's imagine I've listed 10 pets out here. I want to actually go ahead and do that. So to do that, what you need to go ahead and do is you need to first group this. So as we did for the button, we're going to go ahead and group these elements together. Okay. Right click, group. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and call this group a list item. Okay, because it's one item. And if you want, you can also go ahead and make it a bit wider. It's up to you. I think it's fine the way it is right now. Now, once you've done this, the next thing you may want to do is you may want to go ahead and actually make multiple copies of it. So one way would be to obviously like make copy paste, like just continuously like make copies of it and paste it. But the problem is that if you make a change to this later on, it won't apply to these. So there's a better way to do this. So I'm going to select this one item, okay, and pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm selecting this one item. I'm going to use a feature of Adobe XD known as a repeat grid. So pay attention to the top right-hand corner. There's a button called repeat grid. Select it. And now notice how I can make multiple cards. Okay. That really helps me when I'm working in Adobe XD because I can like make a grid which is like 2 columns, 1 column, and it's really up to us. I just use this feature whenever I need to make multiple elements, and I'll show you why it's really helpful. So the reason why it's super helpful is because it actually allows me to make changes to one card and it can impact all the cards. So for example, if I select this one list item and I round the edges for this one card, notice how it rounds the edges for all the list items. Okay, and if I move it, it moves the other pictures as well. So that's a really nice feature of Adobe XD. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this for my dog pictures. I'll just round them up a bit. Okay, so I'll round it a bit. And you may want to go ahead and change the name for some of the animals. So you may want to go ahead and call this maybe Katie. You want to call the other one maybe, let's say Maggie. And the other one is going to be called maybe, let's call the other one like Cat. Okay, like just because we want to call the cat Cat. You can also go ahead and change the other variables as well, such as like you can make this like 2 months old. You can make this like 4 months old and 6 months old and so on. Now, you may also have a question like as to, can I also go ahead and change the pictures? Yes, you can change the pictures. So you can have different pictures for each one. So I'll just go ahead and select all the pictures we downloaded today. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag it and drop. And notice I'm dropping it into just one rectangle. And notice how all the rectangles have now been filled with these pictures. Okay. And okay, this doesn't make sense that we have 3 dogs out here for one, like for Rover can't be 3 dogs. So we'll just use 3 pictures instead. So I'll just use these 3 pictures. I'll drop it in. And notice now how we've gone ahead and like added a list item where we can see all the dogs near us. And if you want, you can also like move this like pets near you instead of centering it. You can also like put it to the left-hand side. Okay. And you can always move your repeat grid a bit closer to it as well. Now that we've gone ahead and done this, okay, the next thing we need to focus upon is making this an actual clickable prototype. Okay. So in an ideal world, you'll create more screens like, I'll just create another screen. You don't need to do this with me, but you could potentially just create another screen which would focus on maybe telling you a bit more about the dog, where let's say you call this as, whoops. Let's say you have another screen which has the dog name and all that information out here. Okay. Let's say you have a screen like this. Okay, and you have the dog picture as well. And we'll just paste the dog picture out here. Oops. Okay. And imagine you also had a button which said adopt now. Okay. So let's imagine you have 3 screens like this. Now, you want to actually make this a clickable prototype, which you could use on your phone. Okay, so there's a way you could do this. So I have 3 screens at the moment. You may have 2, that's completely fine. Take a look at the top left-hand corner. There's a section called prototype. I'm going to select prototype, and from the prototype screen, we're going to connect these screens to each other. So I'll select the Get Started button. Once I've selected the Get Started button, take a look at this arrow, which is like come up in this small blue circle. I'm just going to go ahead and connect it to this page. Okay. And now pay attention to the right panel. You'll notice you have a tap trigger on. That's basically saying if someone was to tap on this button, take them to this page. And right now you'll notice the animation says dissolve. I'm going to maybe select, let's say, a slide up. Okay. And just take a look at what happens now. So if I select this screen, pay attention to the top right-hand corner, there's a play button. If I click on get started, notice how it comes from the bottom. And now it's actually working like a proper app prototype, like it is mimicking how an app would work. So all this effort which you potentially put into coding is now being done in a quick design in the last, like what, I would say 30 minutes. And you could quickly get some feedback on this design and realize from your users what they want and make changes. And once you've actually designed something which a user really likes, then you could move forward with it, okay? So I'll go ahead and now do it for the next page as well. So let's say someone wants to click on rover and they want to go to the next page. I'll just connect it again and I'll select tap, type as transition, and I'll keep the animation as slide left. And now if I click on rover, notice how it just slides left. If I also click on adopt now, maybe there are a few more screens which I could click on and actually learn more about how I can adopt the dog. So I've gone ahead and shown you how to use the prototype feature of Adobe XD. But the next question you may have is, how do you share your work? So if you want to share your work, just go to the top right-hand corner, okay? And you'll notice you have this play button. You can always like go ahead and take a video. So there's a record button out here. I can go ahead and actually show people how the interactions work via this video. I click on rover and now I can get to see the screen and I could then potentially go ahead and even stop recording. And then I could basically go ahead and save it on my computer. And I could set this video to people via Messenger, WhatsApp, or even add it to my slide deck or onto my website. That's one way to share your work. Another way to share your work is via a link, okay? So this is only for people who have actually paid for Adobe XD for the Pro version. So you won't maybe have access to this, but I'll still show it to you. Next to the prototype tab, there's an option called share. If I click on share, I'll notice out here it says link will appear here, create link. If I click on create link, it'll generate a link for me. And I can go ahead and copy this link, okay? And I could then go ahead and open it up in my browser and I could basically send this link to whoever I would want in my network. So I could send it via WhatsApp, via email. I could even send it like via Messenger as well. And someone could go ahead and open up this like link and they could then go ahead and actually start to interact with our prototypes. So they could go ahead and actually click on the get started button. They could then click on rover and notice how the animations are still there. And the cool thing is that if you send this to a friend for some feedback, they can also put some comments. So let's say they put a comment out here about maybe put a picture of some other animals such as rabbits and guinea pigs, okay? So you can put some feedback as well and they click on submit and that feedback gets recorded. Let's say someone clicks on the get started button and you see these like dog pictures and they may want to know like as soon as you see the picture of the dog, what breed it is. So you may want to actually add another comment about that. So mention breed of animal here, or mention breed of animal in each card list item, okay? And you could go ahead and give this feedback and then you could also see this feedback and it could help you. And that's really helpful. And a lot of you are new to using Adobe XD. So they have a free trial. Go ahead and use the free trial. You can get access to all these pro features. But if you've already used Adobe products in the past, you won't get access to the pro feature, okay? Now, another thing about Adobe XD, which I like to share with people is it actually has a really cool feature known as AutoAnimate. Now, you don't need to go ahead and do this with me. I just want to show it to you because if you have time, you can go ahead and learn more about it. So I'll show you a quick preview of it. And then there's a supplementary video which we'll share with you on Discord channel as to how you could go ahead and learn more about that. So it has a feature known as AutoAnimate, which makes animations even more realistic than they already are. So let's say I have an artboard out here. Okay. So I create an artboard and let's say I draw a circle on it. Okay. And I've drawn a circle and my circle is black in color. Okay. And right now I have my circle in the center of my screen. Let's say when I'm to click on this circle, I want my circle to maybe reduce in size and I want it to go towards the bottom half of my screen. Okay, pretty simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how we could create this animation and actually make it like actually move and reduce in size. So I'll go to prototype. I'll connect my circle to this artboard. And I'll say that when someone clicks on this circle, type is not transition, but instead something known as AutoAnimate. And once we select AutoAnimate, okay, and we go to play, notice how the button just went down. So Adobe XD has this really amazing feature called AutoAnimate, which actually animates this for us. And doesn't just use simple transitions like the ones which you saw out here, where you can just have swipe up, swipe down. You could also actually make things move if you set them up the correct way. And I'll show you some other features of it as well as to when we could use it. So let's take this screen, for example, of Rover, okay? If I was to have this screen, maybe I want to show people that they can actually scroll through maybe multiple pictures of Rover, okay? So let's say I have 1, 2, and 3 pictures of Rover, okay? Notice how I have these 3 pictures, and I want people to have the ability to maybe like learn a bit more about Rover. So I could even add like a short paragraph really quickly about some quick description about Rover out here, okay? And people could scroll through these pictures of Rover right here. So how could we do that? I'll select this Rover screen 1. I'll make a copy of it. And I'll go back to prototype, okay? And I'll just select this like screen right here. And I'll connect it to my Rover screen 2. And I'll keep my trigger as a drag. And I'll say auto animate. And now I want to show what the drag state looks like. So if I was to drag on this, what should the endpoint look like? So I'll just go ahead and move this to the right-hand side. So I can just go ahead and move this towards the right. And now, if I was to go ahead and click on this play button, notice how I can just drag. And if I want to drag back, I connect my screen 2 back to screen 1. And I just keep a trigger as a drag, type as auto animate. And now we can drag back and forth, okay? And this is a really cool feature in Adobe XD. I've actually made a dedicated workshop for this. It's a video which you can watch on Facebook. And I go over a lot of like these cool features and how you can make these really nice animations. This really helps when you're trying to get feedback with respect to like what kind of responses people are looking for when they are like interacting with the software for the first time. And I hope you enjoyed today's session. I know I spoke a bit too fast towards the end, but I did that because based on the feedback, you all said I was going a bit too slow. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me your questions in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer you. And if there's something you'd like me to make, I'll go ahead and make it for you and show you how to make it as well. Okay? So are there any questions from anyone or any requests about how to make something? Okay. I don't see any questions. You can also unmute yourself and speak up. You don't need to type out your questions, so you can just speak up as well if you'd like. Okay, so there's a question in the chat, which is, yeah, I was gonna put it in the Discord video, but I can also show it to you right here. So 1 second, we'll just go to Facebook. So it's loading up. Give it a second to load. Okay, it's still taking time to load. So you should find it out here on this link. Hoping it loads up the video as well, so I can just directly send you a link to it. 1 second. It's still loading. Okay, I think it's because I'm also sharing my screen. But oh, there we go. It's loaded up. So let's go ahead, and it's right there. So it's this video, and you can go ahead and watch it. Okay, I'm sharing a link to it in the chat. Okay. So hi everyone, welcome to today. Sounds good? Any other requests from anyone? Or any questions? Okay, so I don't see any. So thank you so much for coming in today. I really enjoyed the session. I usually like try out a different idea each time. So I was really happy that we came up with an interesting result with pets. If you took a look right now on the Facebook page, which I just opened up before this, you would have noticed I made the same pets app, but it looked a bit different. So I like the way we came up with a different result today. And I hope you'll enjoyed it. And I would recommend, like, actually, if you're going to go ahead and make a prototype today for your hackathon, go ahead and do so. I've seen a lot of people actually win hackathons with just simple Adobe XD prototypes. And a quick insight about me, I've actually won both the hackathons, which I've won using Adobe XD and making some cool prototypes in it. So my first hackathon win was in Startup Hall in UW. And we had to make a quick prototype because we didn't have the time to code because we only had one coder on us. And we made a pretty, I would say, nice prototype, which the judges liked, and that helped us win. And I got like approximately $5,000 worth of Expedia points, which allowed me to take free flights all around the United States and also get some like free hotel stay as well. So don't like run away if you don't know how to use code. Always make a prototype, it can help you. Okay. And the other hackathon I won was a Samsung hackathon, where we went ahead and we built a prototype for hospitals where patients could be checked in. And the judges of Samsung were really impressed, and I actually got a lot of Samsung swag and actually have a new phone from them as well because of that. So I would recommend using a prototyping tool. If you don't know how to code, do try it. It should help you. Okay. Take care, everyone. Have a nice hackathon. Take care. See y'all.